Hey BookTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I am doing the Ultimate Book Lovers tag. I wasn't tagged by anyone, but I was watching Kaylee at Books for MK's do it, and I really loved her video, and I thought the tag looked really fun, so I decided to do it. I'll link her video and the creator's video down in the links below for you. The first question is, what are your three top favorite books? And I agree with Kaylee on this one that it's like impossible to choose your favorite book. I wanted to include Enchanted by Gail, Carson, Levine on this list because this was my favorite book for years and years growing up, and when someone had asked me what my favorite book was, this was it. And I still really like this book. I don't know that I could say it's my favorite because I've read so many other really great books since then, but I wanted to include it. Another one of my favorites is Rumors of War, and I actually love this whole series, and there's a series about these characters' children that I also really love, but I like this series more. And it's set in World War II. It's an historical fiction, and I just loved it. I learned so much about World War II, and there was an LDS theme to it, and I'm LDS, and I just really loved that aspect of it, and I honestly just really loved this whole series. I couldn't get enough of it. I read it so fast. I just drank it in, and it left me feeling like a new person, and so I had to include it on this list. I would also be remiss if I did not include Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, or just Brandon Sanderson in general. This was actually the first book I read by him, which is not something that I would recommend you do. He has a lot of books as kind of a gateway into his writing and his Cosmere and everything, but I love Brandon Sanderson. I love the way that he writes, the way he does characters, his world building, his magic systems, everything about him. I absolutely love his books, and so I don't know if I could pick just one of his books, but I really love Brandon Sanderson in general. I did not include any classics on this list, although there are a lot of classics that I would want to include, like Heidi, Anne of Green Gables, Les Mis. There's so many books. I'm currently reading The Count of Monte Cristo, and I really love it. There are so many classics out there that are super great too, and of course other books that are similar to the ones that I shared and some that are totally different, and so it's really hard to pick, but those are just three that came to mind. The next question is, what are your three least favorite books? So one of my least favorite books is actually Mockingjay, and I would actually probably include Catching Fire to that as well. I really enjoyed The Hunger Games, but I wish that the series had ended there because I did not like Catching Fire. I felt like Catching Fire was a repeat of the first book, and I did not like Mockingjay just because honestly it was too depressing for me. I'm sure it was realistic to what the characters would have gone through and what would have happened and everything. She just killed off too many people and changed one too many characters, if you know what I mean, without giving away spoilers. And I felt like with the love triangle, she ended up with who I wanted her to end up with, and I still wasn't happy when I finished the book, and I felt like I should have been. Along with series that end in a way that I just absolutely hate, and I just didn't like the other books. I didn't like Allegiant. I really liked Divergent, and the second book was okay, but I did not like Allegiant. First of all, I felt like it was a depressing book again, but then second of all, I hated the ending. I can't handle those kinds of endings. I seriously bawled for like 20 minutes. I remember my husband was at work and I was just like going around the house bawling because I hated the ending and I was so sad. And yeah, I just did not like it. For lack of being able to think of another book that I just really didn't like, I will just mention Benny and the Bank Robber, which I talked about in my wrap-up recently. And it was just one of the most horribly written books that I've ever read. And after editing my wrap-up, I realized that it was a really poorly written book, and so I can't believe that I actually finished it, but there you go. Three of my least favorite books. Question 3, a popular author that you love. I love Brandon Sanderson, which I already mentioned, which just shows how much I love Brandon Sanderson. He is one of the few authors that when he releases a book, I will automatically buy it. Another one that is, I don't know how popular Shannon Hale is. I've seen a lot of people recently reading Goose Girl or Princess Academy on BookTube, but I really enjoy Shannon Hale as well. She's one of my favorite authors. Number 4, a popular author you don't love. I'm actually going to say this is probably going to be really unpopular. Laini Taylor. She wrote Strange the Dreamer and the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I tried reading that trilogy and I just couldn't get into it. It felt really high schooly to me, and maybe I'll give it a second chance sometime. I just couldn't get into it though. And then I did read Strange the Dreamer, and there were parts of it that I really liked. Mainly her writing style and some of the characters. I thought they were very beautifully done. I just personally did not like the book. I thought it was too dark and too depressing and too much death and kids killing each other and dying and stuff. And I did not like it. I don't know if I'll read the second book because I just didn't really like it. And so, but I know that she is way, way, way popular, and a lot of people love her books, and so maybe I'll give them another try. Number 5, an underrated book that you think everyone should read. For this one I picked The 3 NBs of Julian Drew, and it is by James M. Dean. And I actually mentioned this one in my childhood reads that you've never heard of, but this book is fabulous. It really helps you to understand abuse and child abuse and different things better, and to really want to fight against that. And it was a beautifully done story, and the format I thought was very unique. But I've literally never heard anybody ever talk about this, and I think it's a fabulous book. Number 6, a series that you will not finish. For this one I chose the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare, and I know this one is a favorite on BookTube by a lot of people, but I read the first, 3 books or something, and honestly didn't really like it that much. I didn't not like it, I just didn't love it that much. I feel like that if I had read it maybe in high school, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more, but I don't know if it was just an age thing or what, but I just didn't really enjoy it that much. The part of the Mortal Instruments series that I did read kind of wrapped up really nicely, and so I felt like I could finish there and not read the rest of the books in the series, but I wasn't missing out because it was kind of wrapped up really nicely at that point. I did read the Clockwork Angel series and enjoyed that, so I don't mind that world, and I don't mind Cassandra Clare, but for some reason the Mortal Instruments series just didn't jive with me that well. Number 7 is your earliest bookish memory. It's hard to remember my earliest one. One of my earliest ones, I remember really, really wanting to get to read this unicorn book. I can't remember if it was kindergarten or first grade, but I was learning to read, and you'd like go through the different levels, and once you reached a certain level you could pick that book. And I kept trying to pick that book, and I remember even taking it home one time and not being able to read it very well, so my mom sent it back and I had to go back down to the other level and learn to read better before I could pick that book, and that really, really, I guess, encouraged me to learn to read, because for some reason I really wanted to read that specific book. And honestly, I don't even remember what it was or getting to read it, but I do remember that. I also remember going to our school library in one of the earlier grades and getting to pick out our own books to read, and I would always pick Cam Jensen, the detective stories about the girl with the photographic memory. And number 8 is your favorite bookish memory. This one is hard too. I have a lot of really good memories of reading. I remember finishing tests early at school, like when we'd have to do end of year tests, so I could pull out Harry Potter. I remember rereading and rereading Harry Potter. I remember times when we'd have to stay inside for recess because of really, really bad weather, and loving that because I got to sit and read. I specifically remember one time in 5th grade we were inside because of rain or something, and I was reading the series of unfortunate events. I can't remember which one, but I also have a lot of really good memories of listening to my mom read to us. She would read to us for hours and hours and hours, and I will always be grateful for that. I have a lot of memories at the school library and at the public library, getting to choose books to take home and just different things like that. Reading has been a really big part of my life, so I have a lot of really good memories from that. Number 9, your favorite genre to read? I actually don't know. I love fantasy, depending on the type of fantasy that it is. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly about certain fantasy books it is that I really like and what about others that I don't. There are fantasy books that I just fall into, and I love those. I really enjoy historical fictions like The Help or the one that I mentioned earlier. I also really love mystery. Mystery is one of my favorite genres to read. Number 10 is what is your least favorite genre to read, and this would be probably horror or thriller. I have a hard time with really intense stuff. I'm not super bad, but I just, my line is basically Brandon Sanderson. Anything past that I just can't really handle. I get scared, I get grossed out, I like happy endings, you know, that kind of thing. Number 11, one difficult or important book that you're proud that you've read. For this one I picked Les Mis. I read this, I can't remember if I was in 9th grade maybe, or 10th, but I remember reading this and it taking me a very, very long time and carrying it around school, and at the time I honestly don't think I even really understood a lot of it. Like, there was a lot that I was like, I don't really know what's going on, because I hadn't read a lot of classics up to that point. But I knew the basic story from the play, and I still felt like it was a little bit life-changing. I love the story of Les Mis. I love Jean Valjean. I just love the story of Les Mis, and I actually want to reread it now that I'm a little bit older, because I think I get a lot more out of it. But I am very proud to have read it because, first of all, it's like gigantic, and second of all, it's not the easiest classic to have read, and so I am very proud of myself for having read this, and very glad that I've read it because I really do love Les Mis. Number 12, your favorite childhood book, and I already mentioned Enchanted. I also just wanted to mention Harry Potter because I read that book so many times as a child. I probably read the first 4 books like 20 times because the 5th one hadn't come out yet, and I will always hold a special place in my heart for Harry Potter as a child. Number 13 is your favorite book cover. For this one I actually picked The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and this is an edition of The Hobbit that is just really teeny tiny and cute and leather bound, and it has, you know, the special map inside and everything, and gold encrusted pages or whatever, and it's one that my sister-in-law gave to me when my husband and I got engaged, as kind of a welcome to the family, we're excited to have you present, you know, like bonding over being new sisters because we both love books. And I love this copy of The Hobbit. I actually keep it right here because not only is it small, so it'd be kind of awkward on the shelf, but it just looks really cool, and so I want to show it off a little bit. Number 14, an ugly book cover. I'm sure most of you have never really heard of or read these books because this is an LDS author that wrote contemporary. If you've ever heard of the movie Charlie, he wrote the original book for that. I'm actually named after it. My name's Charlie, and it's spelled the same way. My mom went and saw the play and really liked the way that they spelled her name. But this is got to be like one of the ugliest book covers I have ever seen. It's just a bunch of different books by him, and it's hardcover, so it's a nice copy, but it really is ugly. It's just like this dotted blue thing with like different colors on it, and I just don't like it. Number 15, a diverse book recommendation. Honestly, this is probably that bad. I don't know that I read that diversely, and it's probably something that I should try and do more of, is to find more diverse books that I really love. The one that came to mind first for me was The Help. It's one that I just barely finished rereading. It talks about the South and the way that the blacks were treated in the South in the 60s and that kind of movement. That's the time that it's set in. It's a historical fiction, and it's so good. And I chose it just because it really has, when I first read it and even rereading it, it really, I feel like, expands me as a person, but also expands my horizons and teaches me about people that I am not like. I know that I'm really blessed and privileged, and I want to always remember that so that I can do good with my blessings and make sure that I'm trying to help other people with it still. And this is one of those books that does that. And the last question, number 16, why do you love to read? I love to read for so many different reasons, of course. One of the reasons I love to read is for the characters. The thing that all of my favorite books have in common is how much I love the characters. I can fall in love with characters, boys or girls, and just feel like I am friends with them and create relationships with them, and I love that. They've actually done a study that shows that the same parts of your brain light up when you're reading about certain characters in books and movies and stuff as it does in real life when you're making friends. And so they've kind of stipulated that your brain thinks that those people are real and you're actually making relationships with them as you read about them, and that makes so much sense to me because that really is how it feels to me. I also have recently really begun to love just how much books help me to expand and grow as a person, whether it's teaching me principles like in classics, or if it's teaching me about people that I've never met before, like in historical fiction, or even if it's just helping me think about ideas in general, like Brandon Sanderson's fantasy books. Even though they're not about real people and real races, I feel like they bring up really important ideas and that you can mull over in your mind and that you can really integrate into your person, become a better person. I also read a lot of nonfiction to try and help me to become a better person in my life. That's all the questions. I actually do want to tag a couple people today. First, I want to tag Gabrielle at Between the Pages. Her YouTube channel I think is pretty new and I recently found her, but I've really been enjoying her videos. She posts pretty consistently and she's a really fun, kind of bubbly, sweet person, and her videos are usually really fresh and not always just run-of-the-mill video ideas, and I really have enjoyed seeing her thoughts on just life and books and getting book recommendations from her. So if she wants to do this tag. And then I also wanted to tag Linda at The Book Lady. Her channel is really fun. She kind of does videos on reading and writing, and she's Christian, and so she shares a lot of Christian books and a lot of classics as well. I've really enjoyed the conversations that I've had with her, and I thought that she likes to do a lot of tag videos, so I thought that if she hasn't done this one or seen this one yet, this might be one that she would have fun with. Also, if you want to do this tag, go ahead and do it. Consider yourself tagged. It is a pretty fun tag to do. The questions are fun. Thanks for watching my video. I will see you in the next